Welcome to Pulse of Culture. I'm Karolina Chaplin. I'm here in Krakow in the Manggha Museum of Japanese Art and Technology, talking to Paweł Pachciarek, the curator of the latest exhibition here titled East East. Paweł, thank you so much for being able to talk to us today.
Thank you very much for having me here.
So let's start with the title of your exhibition, right. East East. I was wondering, was it inspired in any shape and form by that famous quote from Rudyard Kipling, East is East and West is West and never shall twain meet?
Exactly. That is, it was the first point where we wanted to start to talk about the East. And as you just mentioned, it is very funny because I wanted to make a little play of words with this special meaning of East East, because probably for everybody, if we think of what East is today, for one, it can be Far East. For another person, for example, for a person from Poland, the East is already Japan. For a person from Western Europe, even Poland can be treated as an East territory. So this East-East relation, which we can see in the title of the exhibition, is nothing more than just a humoristic way of introducing us to the world of East, to the journey to the East, and to think if there is something in between the Western world, the Eastern world, that can be inspiring for us and can be related to both of those territories. So, yes.
So, having this quite playful title, right. You've chose your artist yourselves, and what was the key? What was your curatorial intent?
When I was trying to choose those 6 artists that we have at the exhibition, I wanted to pick them through the notion of migration, because migration is one of those key terms that makes us human. Migration is the reason that we can still be human as a part of a bigger picture. And when we are just talking about those 6 artists, they all have the same common ground, which is the experience of migration, but it doesn't mean that they have to migrate as it is, as people. They have the migration written in the history of their families, in the history of their own, but also they are just showing through their works that the bounds between West and East are very, very tight and are very close to each other. So at the exhibition you will also see that we didn't want to ask somebody if they are from Japan, as if they have a passport or they still live there. All of the artists, of course, they have this special engagement with...
Yeah, almost Japan as a state of mind. And right. If we were to hone in on particular artists, the first artist that really caught my eye, and I was quite surprised to find out that she's Polish, living in Japan for the last 10 years, because her art, those big silk wall hangings, were almost something that I would, as a non-Japanese person, interpret as being really rooted in Japanese tradition. How and why did you choose her?
Yes, so we are talking about Ewelina Skowrońska.
We are talking about Ewelina for sure.
Yes, so Ewelina is an artist that for the past decade was living in Tokyo and was also having her own studio. She was also curating shows for people who were identifying themselves as women, and she created this special space as a kind of refugee for people that just want to create art. They don't have to be all the time in this zone of commercial art galleries, but they can just come over, they can have this special community, they can feel of who they are, they can express of who they are through their artworks and just be there. So this is going back to her artworks and to the artistic practice of Ewelina. So Ewelina caught my eye first with her special way of treating the spirituality. In Western world, the spirituality is often taken by terms of dogmas, by the church, and the spirituality went somehow back to the old ages. In Japan and in the Eastern world, we still can feel that the spirituality is a part of our own existence. It's very close. It doesn't have to be a dogma. It doesn't have to be this kind of rule that we need to follow. It just is there. It's somewhere there. And it comes from the past. It comes from the wisdom of our ancestors. And Ewelina's work, what are particularly great for, are showing us that the history of women, of witches,
it's a work that's deeply, deeply sensual and very, very feminine in the best.
Exactly. So it's almost like showing us that we are coming from this one point that we came out to the world of this void, but we are all connected through those special rhythms of nature.
Stunning, stunning pieces. And the next work I would like you to comment on is Kim's Mitsuo's work, because obviously from a Polish perspective, Japan feels almost homogeneous culturally. And I was fascinated from your exhibition that there is this thing as duality of identities in Japan when you belong to a sort of a Korean/Japanese minority. So how is this artist representing his, oops.
There we have.
How is the artist?
Nature is going.
It's nature is doing its thing or her thing.
Yeah.
So how is Mitsuo representing his dual identity?
Yes. So we all start the exhibition with this special presentation of Mitsuo's installation. And just when you just enter the exhibition space, you just see this big red boat that is just an allegory of the history of this personal history of him, of his family, but also in this wider terms, it shows us that the migration is the source of survival, is the source of being alive, because just to put it for our audiences, for our viewers, is that Kim Mitsuo's family came over to Japan from Korea. And they had to run away from, back then, the times that communist Korea was rising up, and they decided to go to Japan on the boat. So we see in this particular exhibition, or in this particular piece, that this even somehow very poetic way of describing the reality through just migration, through the road to New Hope, and to the moment that we can finally feel that we are at peace and we found our place, is very much written in the whole installation.
As a Polish person looking at your exhibition, one is always looking for those images that may, and I know it's a bit of Orientalism, I just want to see the things that speaks to me. We all want to speaks to me. Well, that's a Japanese experience.
Right.
And Tomoko Sauvage, yes. Her work comes from the sort of a Buddhist tradition of those incense clock.
Right.
And again, as an audience, I think incense clock, that is something that I can understand as being exotic, but she looks at them in a very modern way.
That's it. Tomoko plays with our notion of time. She just shows that time doesn't have to be this very firm construct where we have one point, another point, and we are always moving in the same intervals of times. She shows us that time can be a construct that is organic, that is going through changes and is changing all the time. And so she invented those, let's say, bullock clock. This is the right name for her installation. So she invented those special glass materials and glass objects that are emitting a kind of bubbles. We are showing that we are just connected in this very strange notion of being in this one space, time, that doesn't have to be always the same. Yeah. This is, I think, what I would love to everybody to experience when they come to the exhibition. That let's leave sometimes our own notions about anything. Let's just try not to think that we all know already everything, and just try to dive into those special new ways of
because
interpretation.
then you were absolutely right about leaving your sort of preconception of what Japanese art ought to be like. Because then one looks at the pottery, Urara
Tsuchiya. Yes.
Tsuchiya.
Yes. Even her name shows that it's that the first sign character from her name, Tsuchi, is earth. So it is very funny in terms of what she's been doing, which is creating
sort
those
of
ceramics.
a determinism, nominalism,
That's somewhere there, you know.
Right there. But especially because now Japanese culture is such a strong part of our pop culture.
Right.
When I look at Rara's work, I think, where is Japan in that? And I want to find something. And her work is very, very modern, very contemporary. Where do you see that Japanese influence in her artwork?
Urara is tending to somehow seduce us with this glazy, beautiful works of ceramics that looks kind of nice. They're rooted in the kawaii aesthetic, so they're very cute, they're very nice. But then at the same point, when you just come closer to them, you just see that those, at first point, looking like very funny, very subtle scenes, are just describing something totally else, which is the very heartful situation of women in Japanese society, or in general, the hierarchical
and very sort of imbued in patriarchy.
Yes.
And I'm very sorry we haven't got the time to speak about every artwork, and of course our viewers will want to come and experience all of it. But finally, you know, we talked about Japanese pop culture and the hold it's got on all of us. Right. And I believe that pop culture was your way into Japan, because incredibly, not only you live in Japan, you're fluent in Japanese, and you're teaching in one of the top Japanese university. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, maybe not to make it too long of mine own personal way to the East. I would just say that yes, as a 90s kid, born still under the communist era, but raised and during the 90s, I got to see the anime and manga boom in the 90s, and I think that this was one of the first particular situations when I got to get close to Japanese culture. But of course, it didn't start only there, because from the times when I was a kid, I also was very much inspired by Japanese traditional paintings, ukiyo-es, wood blocks, all those things that you can think of if you just look back into the 18th and 19th centuries of Japanese traditional art. And later on, I just went through that to literature, and pop culture is always somewhere around, but but going from there, from this literature, I think that when I was already at, I think I was 8 years old, I was in the 2nd grade, I remember that my mother took me to these open days at the Mickiewicz University in Poznań for the open days of the university. And I remember to have this leaflet about Japanology, about Japanese studies, at my hand, and I was so, it was just a simple card just showing that you will be able to study Japanese language, history, culture, and I remember this feeling till this moment that I was imagining myself that someday maybe I will just be able to get into those studies and
you really truly did. I mean,
yes.
What an incredible story. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And that was Paweł Pachciarek, the curator of East-East exhibition here in Krakow in Manggha Museum of Japanese Modern Art and Technology. I'm Karolina Shapland for TVP World.